Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. So as you guys can see here on the XRP chart, XRP took a tumble. Now we are trading in and around this range here, this level of support that we saw bounce here on October the 20th, and then here at the end of September as well. So testing support again. We can see it hit a fourth time here. And so, this is retesting former resistance that we saw back in May, right before we saw that consolidation period over the summer. What is causing this, guys? I mean, the entire crypto market is down. Market cap is now back down under $1 trillion. We were hovering above $1 trillion for a while, and, we were getting a little excited. This could be the spark for another rally. But alas, look at this. Bitcoin down 5%, Ethereum down 6.4%. We got BNB down 2.2%. XRP is down 6.9% in the last 24 hours. Dogecoin down 12.9%. Cardano down 5.8%. So the top 10 major cryptocurrencies are down, and the rest of the market is being pulled down along with them. Now, this could likely have to do with what happened in the LBRY case. Market sentiment not feeling terribly jazzed right now. Could be partially because of LBRY, also because of the FTX debacle that is still going on. Investors draining their funds from the FTX exchange, which is kind of a good opportunity to bring this up now. Ledger happened to send me this in my email account. Apparently, they are giving 10% off the Ledger Nano X and the Ledger Nano S Plus if you guys use this code. So I do have an affiliate link in the description of the video. Ledger is a cold wallet storage solution to keep your cryptocurrency safe off of exchanges. And so this offer is only valid until November the 9th at 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you guys want to get a Ledger, maybe now is the time to do that. You can get 10% off the X and the Nano S Plus. Again, I do have an affiliate link in the description of the video. You can use it if you want. You don't have to use it. I just thought I'd bring this to your attention if you were still looking to get a cold storage solution, especially if you have funds tied up on FTX right now. But guys, this is the big story today. And I know, so many people in the XRP community have their opinions. I'm going to try to run the gamut here, try to get all different sides of the story. This is what I tend to do on this channel, what I like to do, because I don't like to just be so laser focused on one particular angle. Of course, there's a large faction of people in the XRP community who think, this will be fine. The LBRY case is not really going to affect Ripple, but this has indeed delivered a major blow to cryptocurrency at large. And so let's get into it right now. XRP Crypto Wolf bringing this up. So, of course, the big news today, SEC wins a suit against LBRY in a major blow to crypto issuance. The SEC has prevailed in a courtroom battle with decentralized publishing platform LBRY after arguing that its token was subject to regulatory oversight. The court found that LBRY's LBC token was an investment contract, even though the project did not sell it via an initial coin offering. So, an interesting thing to make note of here, they did not sell it as an ICO, however. They still won in court by saying it was an investment contract. The project began in 2017 and with the stated aim of decentralizing publishing. Here's a quote: "LBRY is mistaken about both the facts and the law," the New Hampshire District Court said in the decision. Judge Paul Barbadaro granted the SEC's motion for summary judgment, sealing the fate of the case that began last March. I believe it was March 21. The decision is a major blow to crypto issuers, many of whom have argued that the SEC is pursuing a course of regulation by enforcement like LBRY. Many defenders of token issuance claims that the commission has not given enough warning to crypto firms of how it will apply its oversight. It's a defense that SEC Chair Gary Gensler has been criticized very publicly about in recent months, while commending the SEC's application of existing laws, and particularly the Howey test, which refers to a U.S. Supreme Court case revolving around whether a transaction may qualify as an investment contract. So guys, Gary won this one, and under unusual circumstances. I mean, they did not even issue an ICO, and yet it was still stated that these guys were selling an investment contract. Now, one of the arguments in the Ripple case was, where is the contract? We don't have a contract. And therefore, and I even think Brad Garlinghouse mentioned that, likely because Ripple's attorneys had mentioned it in the past. But the fact that there is no contract clearly doesn't matter, because you can still be charged for selling unregistered securities. What the evidence in the record discloses is that LBRY promoted LBC as an investment that would grow in value over time through the company's development of the LBRY network. So that is a big point here. Luckily, Ripple has steered far away from ever stating that Ripple is going to help XRP holders become rich through the XRP token. Referring to the Howey test decision, the court said that the SEC has based its claim on a straightforward application of the venerable Supreme Court precedent that has been applied by hundreds of federal courts around the country over more than 70 years. Okay, that is the first part here. LBRY tweeted out yesterday, "We lost. Sorry, everyone." So what are they going to do? We're going to lick our wounds for a little bit, but we're not giving up. We've got a bright team, tens of millions of pieces of content, hundreds of thousands of creators, and one of the most popular Web3 apps in the world. The best is yet to come. So if you guys want to read the ruling, it is listed here. And I do also have a link for it in the description of the video as well, just as a separate link for you guys. Jeremy Hogan down here saying, you fought the fight, no need to apologize. WM Wealth Mentor also asking, what is going to happen next, Jeremy Hogan? So let's get into some opinions about this. Basically, here, let me go to the conclusion of this and just read you guys the conclusion. I mean, we get the sense of where the judge's head was at, but let me just kind of sum it up here. As I have explained, the only issues raised by the parties' cross motions for summary judgment are whether LBRY offered LBC as a security and whether LBRY received fair notice that it needed to register its offerings, because no reasonable trier of fact could reject the SEC's contention that LBRY offered LBC as a security, and LBRY does not have a triable defense that it lacked fair notice. The SEC is entitled to judgment. So note here, guys, fair notice defense, that plays a big part in this. The SEC's motion for summary judgment is granted and LBRY's motion for summary judgment is denied. The clerk shall schedule a status conference to discuss the process for resolving any remaining issues. The final verdict in the LBRY case, I know we were all hoping it would go better, and precedent could in fact enter in the Ripple case, and maybe this is why the SEC's lawyers wanted to hold off until this case was done so that they could actually enter, responses to those amicus briefs that now will have to do with a precedent-setting case, namely the LBRY case, so that they can draw from that and now have some concrete reasons why they are responding in the way they are responding. So the delay tactic could have been because they wanted to kind of see what was going to happen in other court cases. BitBoy Crypto here saying, LBRY losing is bad for altcoins and ICOs. There is now a roadmap for the SEC to declare a crypto a security. I think the thing that did them in is paying their devs in tokens. So notice that, all right? LBRY actually paid employees with LBRY tokens as a matter of compensation. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Ripple has actually done the same thing in the past. I don't know if that point has come up in the lawsuit at all or not. But I don't know if you guys remember this. Maybe some of you guys that have been in the community for a longer time. We've heard that some employees had the option to be paid in currency, to be paid in XRP for bonuses, maybe not their entire salary, but like a portion of their salary or maybe bonuses or something along those lines. And some actually opted for the XRP. Now, I don't know if that would be considered the same thing because Ripple gave them the decision. And I mean, if they chose fiat currency, then yeah, they chose fiat currency. But if they chose something else like XRP, would that be the same as a company saying, no, we're only going to pay you in this and you have no choice? Maybe something to ask the lawyers. Bad SEC basically says that the fact team took so many coins was a problem. He goes on to say, even though the team was using them for future utility, that did not matter, which is interesting. I think lesson would be platforms need to lock up utility tokens and smart contracts for future use instead of holding them. So that's a positive thing for the Ripple camp. One of the criticisms is XRP is being held in the escrow. Ripple holds a large portion of the XRP. And I have a feeling if that XRP were not in escrow, that would be a problem. But Ripple definitely does have an argument considering it is in escrow, considering it is a timed release, and they cannot really relinquish the XRP or distribute the XRP until the escrow time is up. So it's a timed release. They really do not have any control over when the XRP is released. Ben Armstrong goes on to say, but overall, this is a sad story for LBRY, decentralization, and innovation. Attorney Jeremy Hogan also chiming in on this. LBRY fought the good fight, but we lost at summary judgment. The judge hung his hat largely on the fact that there was essentially no use for the tokens at the time of the sales. So that is going to be an important distinguishing factor, I think. At the time of sales, there was no utility for the token. Ripple could argue that there was always utility for the XRP token. Anybody could build on the XRPL, and maybe there were even a few use cases at that point in time. Nevertheless, I mean, this case is so different, not as clear cut, a lot more gray zones to kind of navigate. And I think this is why the SEC is having a hard time with the Ripple case. So that is what Jeremy Hogan is stating. Crypto Fund 1 down here saying, did the judge rule that the token itself is a security? What about sales of the token on the secondary markets? And Jeremy Hogan responding here, the ruling was very general. The judge just said that LBRY offered sold LBC as a security. So not too much more than that. XRP Crypto Wolf, people are freaking out about the LBRY case when there's no need to worry. Ripple has been winning the XRP lawsuit every step of the way and is completely different from LBRY, and I could not agree more. But as we had talked about in an earlier video, I believe from last week, it could be that we win on some of the portions of the case and maybe not other portions of the case. And this is really going to affect, obviously going to affect the outcome for us, XRP holders, and, law moving forward for the crypto industry. Vincent down here saying, it's still a problem. I don't think anyone is taking corruption into account. As we know, the SEC works for Goldman and they have deep pockets and can influence decisions. Absolutely. So don't be so sure. That's the other point to this. Okay. I mean, there's the incumbent banking industry in the US and obviously Goldman Gary trying to help his banker buddies. His twin brother, of course, works at TD Ameritrade. As a big executive over there. So that's the thing, right? There are so many moving parts to this story and, the LBRY case. I mean, yeah, it sucks that they lost. It obviously would have been better and had, it would have a lot more clout to, it would give a lot more clout to the Ripple SEC case had they had won, but it's still not the end, guys. Wheezy at Nerd Nation Unbox here saying, but in the Ripple case, the SEC attorneys are arguing that use case doesn't matter. Can they argue both sides with this judgment? Gabriel Tudor down here saying they argued that in the LBRY case as well. Let's keep moving. Bill Morgan here. It needs to be said that LBRY received no obvious support from the crypto community other than from people in the XRP community and LBC users. So this is the other thing, okay? The XRP community tried to help LBRY as much as possible, but, we're still XRP guys and gals. So I think we're focusing our efforts a lot more heavily on the XRP case than we even did LBRY. But think of it this way. Nobody else supported LBRY in their crusade. So this is what Bill's pointing out, and this is important, guys. No support from crypto industry associations. LBRY fought alone for years and received a bad judgment. So it could have just been that they didn't have the resources, they didn't have the support to garner a good judgment, and this does definitely bode well for the Ripple SEC case. As we know, Ripple has spent over, $100 million on the case so far. The one thing I didn't actually take a look at, and I took a look at it earlier, but I didn't show you guys yet, is the LBRY to LBRY to USD price here. We did actually see a bit of a cratering for LBRY now. That could have just been because overall market conditions are bearish, but take a look at that, guys. A bit of a bullish upturn. This is the daily chart. Let me throw it on the hourly for you guys. So, even though we did see this coin crater after the judge's decision going down 38%, we did actually see a little bit of an uptick here, going back up about 20%. So is this going to be sustained? Of course, this is just the short-term movement for this particular coin. Maybe the worst part of the LBRY summary judgment was this part here. Even if LBRY never said a word, okay, so Jungle Inc. is actually taking this from, I believe it was up here. Where was it here? I think it was in here somewhere. Right, it was down here. The problem for LBRY is not just that a reasonable purchaser of LBC would understand that the tokens being offered represented investment opportunities. Even if LBRY never said a word about it, it is that by retaining hundreds of millions of LBC for itself, LBRY also signaled that it was motivated to work tirelessly to improve the value of its blockchain for itself and any LBC purchasers. So suggesting that, yeah, we are doing what we are doing because we want to raise the price of the LBRY token. And Jungle Inc. just kind of making that connection. Gary Gensler is a gangster of the highest order. Mickle down here saying, LBRY never talked about an investment contract. They essentially assumed there was one. Their lawyers did a poor job of differentiating the asset from the sale. Ultimately, I don't think this will hold much weight. And Jungle Inc. responding down here, I think it just shows that the judges will side in general with government regulators to protect capital markets. Agent Smith down here saying, the judge is an idiot. This conclusion is an opinion. His conclusion is based on his assumption of things unsaid and unknowable. So also a very good point. And that's the other thing too, right? We have a different judge than the judge in this case. So our judge, is already leaning favorably to Ripple, calling the SEC hypocrites in one statement. So, we can't forget these points that are also very important to note. So LBRY here, the most effed up part about this whole situation is that even after 5 years of fighting and a court ruling, we still honestly do not know how to legally launch a public blockchain in the United States. So even with this big fight, there is still no clarity on what to do. And this is the bigger problem for the crypto industry in the United States. The fact that there is no clarity still, even, with verdicts in this case, certainly does spell a problem. And hopefully, the Ripple SEC case will hopefully help remedy that. Have your company mint all the tokens and create the network, then gift at least 80% of them the foundation for the network nonprofit. The foundation should then gift the tokens to developers working on the network to be used in the software, not speculate for profit. That coming from the block biz down here, Jungle Link saying, that won't work. It's all a security offering. So, it's going to be, the devil's going to be in the details. Was it a security offering? Was it not a security offering based on specific points? Yasin Mobarak down here saying, wait until JPM or Goldman Sachs does it, then you will know how to do it legally. Yeah, exactly, right? Are they buying time for their buddies? And, we heard just the other day that JP Morgan did just do their first crypto transaction over an Ethereum supported blockchain using, Polygon network. Anyway, going to keep moving, guys. A lot of great insight here. This one from JC Gen XRP. I'd love to hear how Gary Gensler spins this as a win for retail users of the LBRY app and for protecting investors, maintaining fair, orderly, and efficient markets, and facilitating capital formation. Everything he touches loses money. Yeah, no doubt about that. Just going back to the LBRY price, the token basically cratered the day of the announcement, cratered about 40%, and now people are finding a great opportunity to buy because this is not the end for LBRY, and people still hold these tokens. That's the other thing. If you hold the tokens already and they're in your cold storage wallet, well, what's the SEC going to do? And now think about this. Let's say you sell them and, you convert them to another token, you convert them to Bitcoin, then you cash out of the Bitcoin. Really, there's no way to trace any of this at this moment in time. So, that's the other thing. The system really isn't set up yet in its entirety to fully regulate cryptocurrency. And this is why we're waiting on government officials to kind of solidify rules about this. Mr. Jace down here saying if Ripple argued the fair notice defense in summary judgment, it is like saying, yes, we sold a security, but you didn't tell us. Ripple didn't sell a security, period. Fair notice defense is relevant. So going back to Ripple and their fair notice defense, Ripple has always maintained they have not sold a security. So they're not going to pull out the fair notice defense. And I think this is an important point to mention. Crypto El Presidente here saying hence why they wouldn't argue that unless they lost at summary judgment. If at summary judgment it's deemed a security, then fair notice defense kicks in. So Ripple is kind of playing it out, waiting for the judge to make a decision on this. Jesse Hines giving us a breakdown, and I don't know if I'm going to go over this entire thing. It is quite lengthy, but I might go over some of it here. Here's my breakdown of the SEC versus LBRY. Summary judgment decision. Yes, the district court judge granted summary judgment in favor of the SEC in its enforcement action. First and foremost, it is unfortunate that this decision came to light, but also I'm not surprised given the facts. Here is a thread. Most importantly, I don't believe that this case is a surprise to the space. This case hung on whether these assets were sold as a security, and the judge opined that they were. So again, the judge's decision, this use and failure of the fair notice defense was interesting, but not surprising. What is most interesting for the industry actors is that the judge ruled that a digital asset may have both a consumptive and a speculative utility and still be an investment contract, meaning just because there are some people buying the asset for its utility, that is not enough. So, this puts into question Ripple's sales earlier on. What weighs the heaviest here was the decision that if it is reasonable for people to buy the token for speculation, and that reason is supported by statements of the company, you may find yourself in an investment contract land. It is important to note that in the LBRY context, there was no ICO, meaning contrary to public opinion, not having an ICO does not get you out of jail free. Rather, the judge, in this case, looked at the reality and statements made by the LBRY team. So, all things to consider, guys, in the Ripple case. Further interesting is that the judge even considered statements made by the LBRY community moderators, not employees, as part of the facts. At the end of the day, it is reasonable for a person to expect that the works of a team will bring utility to a token. So, going back and forth here, this is an interesting thread. I don't want to spend too much time on this, but again, I will link it in the description of the video for you guys if you are interested. Because we've got a lot to cover, John Deaton here also kind of hitting it home with this point. Haven't had time to read it yet, but I'm sure the SEC will cite it in the reply brief due in a couple of weeks, and Ripple will distinguish it on the facts. This decision is in the First Circuit. The Ripple XRP case is in the Second Circuit. And guys, that's also going to have an effect on the outcome of the case. So the Ripple XRP case in the Second Circuit and has different precedent, like the Upton case. This means that Judge Torres doesn't even have to read the LBRY decision. So there you have it. Obviously, a win for LBRY was preferred. I'll reserve my overall thoughts until I read it. I can tell you this, though, LBC today is not a security, regardless if it was when LBRY first sold it. I may do a live stream on Crypto Law US tomorrow. Pages 16 to 17, I can assure you the SEC will cite verbatim. Even if LBRY never said a word about it by retaining hundreds of millions of LBC for itself, LBRY also signaled that it was motivated to work tirelessly to improve the value of its blockchain for itself, and any LBC purchasers would lead purchasers of LBC to expect that they too would profit from their holdings of LBC as a result of LBRY's efforts. It goes on to say, simply put, by intertwining LBRY's financial fate with the commercial success of LBRY made it obvious to its investors that it would work diligently to develop the network so that LBC would increase its value. After all the amicus briefs, I'm sure the SEC is feeling good because they will cite the above language that applies to Ripple. At the risk of coming off like self-promotion, XRP holders' amicus briefs just became even more important than ever. Our brief, unlike other briefs, addresses some of the alignment language this judge is relying on, so he is still reading. Let's not forget, guys, we have the amicus briefs, all these other companies that came out in support of Ripple. Also, there is the district and distinguishing that the Second Circuit is different than the First Circuit. So precedent, and this is even news to me, precedent may not be the same. There's no way the judge will see LBRY as the same as XRP. XRP has way more utility, and Ripple lawyers have been beating the SEC. Now, no offense to LBRY or whoever, but, they just don't have the same resources as Ripple. Ripple, as Brad Garlinghouse mentioned, has already spent over $100 million in legal fees on this case particularly. So, this isn't going to be the same. We likely won't come out of this with 100% positivity because, again, there are going to be different aspects to the case that are going to be ruled on differently. However, the overall consensus is still fairly positive. But guys, it is true, nothing is safe. Although John Deaton, as we had mentioned, seems to have made another comment here. Yes, the court's finding that LBRY was selling LBC as unregistered securities is a total victory for the SEC, but it does not mean an immediate defeat for Ripple. Deaton's argument is that the LBRY case has not set precedent, and the judge in the SEC case against Ripple may not take the recent result into account when rendering her own decision. Moreover, according to the lawyer, Ripple has more than a 50% chance of winning the case. Okay, more than 50%? How much more? Ripple has a much better chance than 50-50, but it's not because of Ripple or what they did or didn't do. It's about how the SEC chose to prosecute the case. The SEC chose to go with an all-or-nothing approach, and guys, this might be their downfall. All XRP from the beginning of time to the end of the world theory, not assuming that, the use case for XRP is going to change, what XRP represents is going to change, and, even taking a look at XRP today, what it's used for, and taking a look at it in 10, 20, 30 years. We cannot even fathom what XRP use cases will eventually be created, just adding more value to the token. And Crypto Dash reminding us of this, FSOC, yes, check in the Ripple column, not so much in the LBRY column. We've also got central banks. We've also got ISO 20022, the connections with the BIS and the IMF, the fact that it is being used all around the world. Oh, and yeah, the SEC was called a hypocrite by Ripple's lawyers. None of those same things can be said for the LBRY case. I'm feeling quite positive for XRP holders. What I'm really wondering is what kind of spike are we going to see once the verdict is revealed? That's just my opinion, but I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.